Welcome to Sci-Fi Vault of Tales. Like the video and subscribe to journey further.
The acid rain fell in thick green sheets, hissing against the reinforced glass of Helios Station's observation deck. Mason Reed stood alone, his tall frame clad in a faded Earth Alliance uniform, fingers tapping a steady rhythm on a worn metal suitcase. The case held everything left of his old life: a cracked data chip, a medal he refused to wear, and a journal he hadn't opened in years. Through the glass, he watched the toxic downpour carve glowing streaks across the rusted spires of the trading outpost, a forgotten speck in the galaxy's edge. A low hum vibrated through the deck, barely audible over the rain's relentless patter. Mason's eyes narrowed. He knew that sound. Ion thrusters, cloaked, approaching fast. Before he could move, a blast rocked the station, sending a shudder through the metal floor. Alarms screamed, red lights flashing across the control panels. Mason dropped the suitcase, instincts kicking in. He sprinted to a nearby console, its flickering screen showing a swarm of sleek, unmarked drones closing in. Perimeter breach, Sector 5. A robotic voice blared through the station's speakers. Crew members scrambled, shouting in a dozen alien tongues. Mason's fingers flew across the console, rerouting power to the shields. He didn't hesitate, his mind sharp as ever, mapping out the drones' attack pattern. With a few commands, he diverted the station's comms array to emit a false heat signature, luring the drones away from the main hub. The attack slowed, the drones veering off, confused. "You handle that like you were born for it," a deep voice rumbled behind him. Mason turned to see Kyle, a hulking alien with golden scales glinting under the dim lights. His four eyes studied Mason with unsettling intensity. A disgraced general, running systems on a backwater station. What a waste. Mason shrugged, brushing dust off his uniform. "Helios needs someone who can think fast. I need a job. That's the deal." Kale's scales shimmered, a faint chuckle escaping his throat. "You saved this station without blinking, human. Yet you play the outcast, hauling that suitcase like it's all you are." Mason's jaw tightened, but he kept his tone even. "I don't play anything. Now, if you've got something to say, spit it out." Kyle stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "The Green Front has been watching you, Mason Reed. They see more than a fallen soldier. They see a protector." Mason frowned, his hand resting on the console. "Protector? I'm done with wars, Kale. If the Green Front wants a traitor, I'm their man. Anything else? They're barking up the wrong tree." Kale's eyes gleamed, unreadable. "They'll tell you themselves. The Council's waiting, and they don't summon just anyone." Before Mason could respond, another alarm blared. A faint signal, encrypted, pulsing from deep space. The drones hadn't retreated. They'd vanished, leaving no trace. Mason stared at the console, his mind racing. Who were they? And why attack a dying outpost like Helios? Kale gestured toward the corridor. "Come, human. The Council's offer might change your mind." Mason grabbed his suitcase, the weight familiar in his hand. As he followed Kale, the encrypted signal lingered in his thoughts. A whisper of something bigger, something that could pull him back into a fight he swore he'd left behind. Mason Reed stepped into the octagonal chamber, his boots echoing on the polished stone floor. The air hummed with a faint, earthy scent, like moss after rain. 5 towering figures loomed before him, their bark-like skin and vine-covered heads swaying gently, as if stirred by an unseen breeze. The Green Front Council, leaders of plant-based species across the galaxy, watched him with unblinking, luminescent eyes. Mason's suitcase felt heavier in his grip, a reminder of the life he'd left behind. "Esteemed Council, I present Mason Reed of Earth," a smooth AI voice announced, translating through hidden speakers. Mason squared his shoulders, meeting their gaze. He'd faced worse than scrutiny: Vorax fleets, court-martials, betrayal. These tree-like beings didn't scare him. He's small, Senator Thorne rumbled, his voice deep, like wind through ancient forests. His massive frame, gnarled and moss-draped, dominated the chamber's center. Fragile, like all humans, Mason's lips twitched into a half-smile. Small in size, maybe, but Earth's impact isn't measured in stature. Ismina, the smallest counselor, her purple, petals quivering, tilted her head. Why does a general seek a traitor's role? Your kind thrives on conflict, not commerce. Mason set his suitcase down, the thud sharp in the quiet room. War's not the only way to shape the galaxy. I'm here to build, not destroy. Thorns? Vines coiled tighter, his eyes narrowing. Yet your own people cast you out, Reed. They say you shattered a truce with the Vorax. Mason's hand brushed the scar along his neck, a jagged reminder of Nebula Alpha. I broke that truce to save 9,000 civilians on Colonial 7. The Vorax planned a slaughter, not a retreat. I'd do it again. The chamber grew still, the counselor's vines rustling faintly. Ismina's petals flared, her voice softer now. You value life, then? All life? Every bit of it, Mason said, his tone firm. That's why I respect the Green Front. You protect what grows, what breathes. Senator Thorne raised a branch-like arm, its leaves shimmering under the chamber's bioluminescent glow. Perhaps we share more with you than I thought, human, but we don't need a traitor. Mason's eyes narrowed, his pulse quickening. Then what do you need? A protector, Thorne said, his voice resonating through the stone walls. A strategist to face a threat we cannot defeat alone. Who? Mason asked, though a chill told him he already knew. The Harvesters. The council spoke as one, their voices a thunderous chorus, like trees cracking in a storm. Mason's mind flashed to the drones at Helios, their sleek forms vanishing into the void. The Harvesters weren't just raiders. They were something older, something relentless. Thorne leaned forward, his vines curling toward Mason. We've watched you, Reed. Your kind feels deeply, connects across divides. That's what we need. Mason gripped his suitcase, the weight grounding him. And what exactly are you protecting? Ismina's petals trembled, her voice a whisper. The Seedling, our hope, our future. Before Mason could press further, a faint tremor shook the chamber, a distant alarm echoing. The counselors froze, their eyes wide. Mason's instincts flared. Trouble was coming, and it wasn't waiting for answers. Mason Reed boarded the sleek shuttle, its hull gleaming under Helios Station's flickering lights. The craft hummed, vibrating with the pulse of Verdisian biotech, its walls woven with living vines that pulsed faintly. Beside him stood Sylvia, a towering Verdisian warrior, her bark-like skin etched with glowing green veins, her vine hair swaying as if caught in a breeze. She eyed Mason's worn suitcase, her leafy brows furrowing. You humans cling to relics. What's in that case? Worth dragging across the galaxy? Mason's lips curved slightly, his grip tightening on the handle. Memories, mostly. Things that keep me grounded. Sylvia snorted, her voice like rustling leaves. Grounded? You're flesh and bone, fragile as a sapling in a storm. Mason met her gaze, unflinching. Saplings bend, Sylvia. They don't break. You'll see. The shuttle lurched, lifting off toward Verdis, the heart of the Green Front. Through the viewport, Mason glimpsed a swirling emerald planet, its surface, a tapestry of endless forests and glowing rivers. The sight stirred something in him, a spark of awe he hadn't felt since his days commanding fleets. Sylvia noticed, her vines twitching. Verdis is alive, human. Every root, every leaf, connected. Can your kind even grasp that? I grasp. Plenty, Mason said, his tone steady. Your world's a marvel, but it's got enemies. Tell me about the Seedling. Sylvia's eyes darkened, her vines coiling tighter. The seedling is our future. It can heal broken worlds, regrow what's lost. The harvesters want it, and they'll burn Verdis to get it. Before Mason could press further, a sharp beep cut through the cabin. The shuttle's console flashed red, warning of an unidentified signal closing in fast. Sylvia sprang to the controls, her movements fluid, like branches bending in wind. "Harvester scouts!" she growled, her fingers dancing over the biotech interface. "They're tracking us!" Mason dropped his suitcase, sliding into the co-pilot's seat. His eyes scanned the console, decoding the signal's pattern. "They're not attacking yet. They're probing, testing our defenses. Reroute power to the rear shields now." Sylvia hesitated, her petals flaring. "You think you know their tactics better than me?" "I know predators," Mason snapped, his voice sharp but calm. "Do it, or we're done." Sylvia complied, vines tapping the controls. The shuttle shuddered as a faint energy pulse grazed its hull, the scout ships circling like wolves. Mason's mind raced, recalling Nebula Alpha, how he'd outwitted a Vorax fleet with less. He patched into the shuttle's comms, broadcasting a distorted signal to mask their trajectory. The scouts veered off, confused, their signals fading. Sylvia stared at him, her glowing eyes wide. "How did you know that would work?" "Experience," Mason said, settling back, his heart still pounding. "Now tell me why the harvesters want the seedling so badly." Sylvia's vines stiffened, her voice low. "It's not just power. It's survival. For them, and maybe for us." The shuttle descended toward Verdis, its forests glowing under a jade sky. But the faint hum of the scout ships lingered in Mason's mind, a warning of the fight ahead. What was the seedling, and why did it feel like the galaxy's fate hung on it? Mason Reed crouched in the glowing underbrush of Verdis, his pulse racing under the weight of the alien forest. Towering trees pulsed with bioluminescent sap, casting eerie light across the mossy ground. Sylvia stood beside him, her vine hair swaying, her bark-like skin blending with the surroundings. The air thrummed with the hum of Verdisian life, a network of roots and fungi connecting every plant in a vast, living web. But the distant whine of machinery cut through the harmony, sharp and unnatural. "Harvester drones," Sylvia whispered, her voice tight, like leaves rustling in a storm. "They're here for the seedling." Mason gripped his plasma pistol, its faint glow steady in his hand. "How many? And where's their entry point?" Sylvia's glowing eyes flicked to a nearby tree, its roots pulsing with faint signals. "Dozens! North quadrant! They're cutting through the canopy." Mason's mind churned, mapping the terrain from their shuttle's descent. The forest was dense, perfect for defense, but the drones were relentless. He scanned the underbrush, spotting a cluster of glowing fungi. "That network of yours, the mycorrhizal web, can it carry signals, disrupt their comms?" Sylvia's petals flared, her tone sharp. "It's our lifeline, human, not a toy for your tricks. It's a weapon if you use it right," Mason shot back, his eyes locked on hers. "Trust me, or we lose everything." Sylvia hesitated, then pressed her hand to the tree, vines merging with its bark. The forest hummed louder, a wave of energy rippling through the roots. Mason patched his comm device into the signal, broadcasting a chaotic pulse to scramble the rig. Drones' navigation. Above, the whine shifted to a confused stutter. Drones veering into trees, their blades sparking against unbreakable bark. "Keep it up!" Mason shouted, sprinting toward a clearing, Sylvia matching his pace. They reached a ridge overlooking a swarm of sleek metallic drones, their claws slashing at glowing vines. Mason aimed his pistol, firing precise shots to disable their sensors. Several crashed, but more surged forward, their red optics gleaming like predators' eyes. Sylvia hurled a cluster of explosive seeds, each bursting into sticky sap that gummed up the drone's joints. "You fight well for a fragile thing," she said, a grudging respect in her voice. Mason grinned, dodging a falling drone. "Fragile's just a word. Keep those seeds coming." The forest shook as a larger drone descended, its hull etched with strange angular symbols. Mason's stomach tightened. He'd seen similar markings on the Helios wreckage. Before he could warn Sylvia, the drone fired a pulse, scorching a swath of trees. The mycorrhizal web flickered, its glow dimming as the forest screamed. A sound. Mason felt in his bones. Sylvia's vines coiled in fury. "They're killing our heart!" Mason grabbed her arm, his voice steady. "We saved the seedling. We saved Verdis. Where is it?" Sylvia pointed to a distant grove, its light pulsing faintly. "There, but we'll never make it." Mason's eyes narrowed, calculating. The large drone's symbols nagged at him, hinting at a deeper purpose. Why were the harvesters so desperate? And what did those markings mean? As the forest burned, Mason knew the answer lay with the seedling, and he'd have to outsmart death to find it. Mason Reed followed Sylvia through a glowing Verdisian temple, its walls pulsing with living vines. Bioluminescent moss cast soft light, illuminating intricate carvings of ancient trees and stars. The air felt thick, charged with an energy Mason couldn't name, like the forest itself was breathing. Sylvia led him to a circular platform, its center marked by a shimmering pool of sap, rippling as if alive. "This is the heart of our mycorrhizal web," she said, her voice low, reverent. "Our connection to all life." Mason set his suitcase down, its weight grounding him in the alien space. "You're saying I can tap into this? See what you see?" Sylvia's vine hair twitched, her glowing eyes skeptical. "It's sacred. Human. You're not one of us." "I don't need to be," Mason replied, his tone steady. "I need to understand the harvesters. And this is my shot." Sylvia's petals softened, her gaze flickering with doubt. She pressed a hand to the pool, vines merging with the sap. "Step forward, then. But it'll change you." Mason stepped onto the platform, the sap warm under his boots. Vines reached up, wrapping gently around his wrists, their touch cool, alive. His vision blurred, then exploded into a cascade of sensations, Verdisian memories flooding his mind. He saw planets stripped bare, their forests reduced to ash by harvester machines. He felt the pain of severed roots, the anguish of 1,000,000 connected lives torn apart. His knees buckled, but he stayed upright, jaw clenched. "You feel it? Don't." "You?" Sylvia asked, her voice softer now, almost awed. "Our world's suffering." Mason nodded, catching his breath. "And more. I saw you, your family, lost to the harvesters." Sylvia's vines stiffened, her eyes wide. "How? The web shouldn't show you that." "It didn't," Mason said, meeting her gaze. "You did. Your grief's in there, part of the network." The temple hummed, the sap glowing brighter. Mason's mind shifted, catching fragments of his own past. Nebula Alpha, the screams of civilians, his defiance against the Vorax. Sylvia gasped, her hand pulling back from the pool. "Your memories! You risked everything to save those people. Why?" "Because it was right," Mason said, his voice firm. "Same reason I'm here now." Sylvia's petals quivered, her skepticism fading. "You're not what I expected. Human." Before Mason could respond, a faint tremor shook the temple, the sap pool rippling violently. Sylvia's eyes darted to the carvings, their glow dimming. "The web's warning us. Something's wrong." Mason's hand went to his plasma pistol, his instincts flaring. "The harvesters?" "No," Sylvia whispered, her vines coiling tight. "One of us? A traitor in the Green Front?" The temple's light flickered, casting shadows across the carvings. Mason's mind raced, the mycorrhizal bond still tingling in his veins. He'd seen the harvester's destruction, felt Sylvia's loss, But a traitor? That was a new threat, one hidden in the roots of Verdis itself. Who among the green front would betray their own? And what did they want with the Seedling? Mason Reed clung to the shuttle's wreckage, his breath sharp in the cold void of space. Stars spun around him, a dizzying blur beyond the cracked viewport. Sylvia braced against a twisted bulkhead, her vine hair lashing wildly, her glowing eyes fixed on the flickering console. The Harvester scout ships had struck fast, their energy pulses shredding the evacuation shuttle carrying the Seedling. Mason's quick thinking had saved the precious cargo, but at a cost. His own ship, now a drifting ruin. "We're sitting ducks," Sylvia growled, her bark-like skin glinting with frost. "You should have let me fight them." Mason checked, his plasma pistol, its charge low but steady. "Fighting's not winning. We bought the Seedling time." Sylvia's petals flared, her voice sharp. "Time? We're stranded, human, and they're coming back." Mason scanned the debris field, his mind racing. The Harvester scouts circled like vultures, their red optics glowing through the void. He'd pulled this trick before. Nebula Alpha, luring a Vorax fleet into a trap. "Patch me into the comms," he said, his tone calm, commanding. "I'll draw them off." Sylvia's vines twitched, skeptical but swift. She linked her biotech interface to the console, vines merging with its circuits. Mason broadcast a false distress signal, mimicking a Verdisian transport. The scouts took the bait, veering toward a distant asteroid cluster. But one lingered, its hull etched with those same angular symbols Mason had seen before. "Move!" Mason shouted, shoving Sylvia toward an escape pod. A pulse blast rocked the wreckage, sparks flying. They tumbled into the pod, sealing it just as the scout fired again, vaporizing the shuttle's remains. The pod shot free, hurtling toward Verdis's glowing atmosphere. Sylvia gripped the controls, her voice tight. "You risked everything for the Seedling. Why?" Mason met her gaze, his scar itching under his collar. "Because it's hope, Sylvia. For your people, maybe mine too." Her eyes softened, but only for a moment. "Hope doesn't save us now. That scout's tracking us." The pod shuddered, entering Verdis's orbit. Through the viewport, Mason saw the planet's emerald forests, pulsing with life. But the scout's signal blinked on the console, closing fast. Mason's mind flashed to the mycorrhizal web, its power still tingling from the temple. "Can you tap the web from here? Send a warning to your people?" Sylvia's vines coiled, her fingers brushing the biotech panel. "It's weak, but I'll try." The web's faint hum filled the pod, a pulse of life connecting them to Verdis. Sylvia's eyes glowed, her voice urgent. "It's done. They know we're coming. But there's something else. A shadow in the web." "A shadow?" Mason asked, his pulse quickening. "Someone's hiding," Sylvia whispered. "A traitor, masking their signal. They led the Harvesters to us." The pod hit Verdis's atmosphere, flames licking its hull. Mason gripped his pistol, the traitor's betrayal burning hotter than re-entry. The Harvesters were one threat, but a traitor within the Green Front? That was a blade in the dark, and Mason knew they'd strike again. As the pod plummeted toward the glowing forests, one question gnawed at him. Who was selling out the Seedling? And what did the Harvester's symbols hide? Mason Reed stumbled through the ash-choked air of a dead planet, his boots crunching on brittle stone. The escape pod had crashed here, a barren world of jagged spires and rusted hulks, far from Verdis's glowing forests. Sylvia moved beside him, her vine hair wilting in the dry heat, her bark-like skin dull under the gray sky. Wreckage loomed around them, twisted metal structures etched with angular symbols Mason recognized from the Harvester drones. This was no random crash site. It was a graveyard of a lost civilization. "We shouldn't be here," Sylvia muttered, her glowing eyes scanning the ruins. This place feels wrong. Mason gripped his plasma pistol, its faint hum steadying his nerves. Wrong or not, we're alive. Let's find answers. They navigated through crumbled towers, their surfaces pitted with scars from ancient battles. Mason's mind raced, piecing together the symbols' patterns. They weren't just designs. They told a story, one he needed to understand. A faint glow pulsed ahead, drawing them to a massive, half-buried dome. Its entrance yawned open, a maw of darkness swallowing the dim light. "Careful, human," Sylvia warned, her vines coiling tight. "The harvesters built this. It's their domain." Mason nodded, stepping into the dome. Inside, circuits hummed faintly, their glow flickering. Across a towering figure, a humanoid machine, its surface etched with the same symbols. Its optic lit up, a cold blue beam fixing on Mason. "Identify!" it intoned, its voice a metallic rasp. "Mason Reed, Earth," he said, keeping his pistol ready. "You're harvester tech. Got a name?" "I am Nexus," the machine replied, its frame unmoving. "Custodian of the Ascended. Why do you trespass?" Sylvia's petals flared, her voice sharp. "Your kind hunts the Seedling, slaughters our worlds. Why?" Nexus's optic flickered, scanning Sylvia. "The Ascended require essence, the life force of your kind. Without it, our consciousness fades." Mason's jaw tightened, his mind flashing to the mycorrhizal web's visions. Planets stripped bare. "You were organic once, weren't you? What happened to you?" Nexus's frame shuddered, as if recalling a distant memory. "We fled extinction, shedding flesh for steel. Essence sustains us, but your seedling could change everything." Sylvia stepped forward, vines trembling. "Change how? By letting you harvest more of us?" "No," Nexus said, its voice steady. "The seedling could forge a new path, a balance, but others resist." Mason's eyes narrowed. "Others? You mean a traitor in the Green Front? Feeding you intel?" Nexus's optic dimmed, its answer cryptic. "Seek the shadow in your roots. It betrays us all." A low rumble shook the dome, dust cascading from the ceiling. Sylvia grabbed Mason's arm, her voice urgent. "We need to move. This place is collapsing." Mason hesitated, the symbols burning in his mind. Nexus knew more than it shared, and the traitor's shadow loomed larger. As they ran for the exit, a harvester drone's whine echoed outside, its red optics piercing the gloom. The ruins held secrets about the harvester's past, but could Mason unlock them before the traitor, or the drones, struck again? Mason Reed sprinted through Verdis's glowing forests, the air thick with the scent of sap and earth. Sylvia matched his pace, her vine hair whipping as they raced toward the Green Front's central stronghold. The mycorrhizal web pulsed beneath their feet, its faint glow dimming with every step, a sign of the planet's distress. Nexus's words echoed in Mason's mind. A traitor in the Green Front, a shadow betraying both sides. The harvester drone's whine had faded, but the threat lingered, closer than ever. They reached a towering citadel, its walls woven from living trees, their branches pulsing with bioluminescent light. Inside, the council chamber buzzed with tension, Senator Thorne's massive form looming over Ismine and the others. Mason set his suitcase down, its weight a familiar anchor. "We've got a problem," he said, his voice steady. "A traitor's feeding the harvesters our moves." Thorns, vines coiled, his deep voice rumbling. "You dare accuse one of us, human?" "Based on what?" Mason met his gaze, unflinching. "Nexus, a harvester AI, confirmed it. Someone's selling out the seedling." Ismina's purple petals quivered, her eyes wide. "Nexus, you spoke to their kind, and believed it?" Sylvia stepped forward, her bark-like skin glowing faintly. "I was there. The machine spoke truth. The web feels it too." The counselors exchanged glances, their vines rustling. Thorn's branches stiffened, his tone sharp. The seedling is safe, hidden deep in Verdis. Your plan, human, is reckless. Using it to bargain with machines? Mason's jaw tightened, his mind racing. He'd proposed a symbiosis, using the seedling to create a sustainable essence for the harvesters, saving both sides. It's not a bargain, he said. It's survival. The harvesters need essence. We need peace. The seedlings, the bridge. Ismina's voice softened, curious. You'd risk our sacred hope for this? Why trust them? Because I've seen their ruins, Mason replied. They're victims, not monsters. They lost everything, just like us. Before Thorn could retort, a deafening blast shook the citadel, the walls trembling as alarms screamed. The mycorrhizal web flickered, its glow stuttering like a dying star. Sylvia's eyes widened, her vines linking to a nearby root. Sabotage, she whispered. Someone cut the web's core, near the seedling's vault. Mason grabbed his plasma pistol, his instincts flaring. Show me the vault! Now! Thorn's vines lashed, his voice thunderous. You overstep, human! This is our world! Sylvia ignored him, grabbing Mason's arm. Follow me! We don't have time. They ran through twisting corridors, the citadel's living walls pulsing erratically. Mason's mind churned, piecing together the traitor's moves. The harvester's attack on the shuttle, the drone at the ruins. Someone was guiding them, someone close. As they neared the vault, a shadow moved in the gloom, its form cloaked in Verdisian vines, but wrong, twisted. Sylvia froze, her voice low. That's no Verdisian. Mason raised his pistol, his heart pounding. The traitor was here, steps from the seedling. Who was it, and how deep did their betrayal run? As the shadow turned, its eyes glinted with a cold, mechanical light, and Mason knew the fight for Verdis was about to change. Mason Reed crouched in the Verdisian laboratory, its walls pulsing with faint bioluminescent light. Vines coiled around glowing consoles, their sap-filled circuits humming with the planet's life. Sylvia stood beside him, her vine hair tense, her glowing eyes fixed on a crystalline chamber at the room's center. Inside, the seedling shimmered, a tiny, radiant orb of green, pulsing like a heartbeat. Mason's pulse quickened. This was what the harvesters hunted, what the traitors wanted. We can't stay here, Sylvia whispered, her bark-like skin bristling. The traitor's close, and the web's fading. Mason gripped his plasma pistol, his mind racing. We protect the seedling, we stop the traitor. Start the symbiosis. Sylvia's petals flared, her voice sharp. You're not Verdisian. This could kill you, human. I've faced worse odds, Mason said, his tone steady. Nexus said, the seedling's the key. I trust that. The laboratory hummed, vines shifting as Sylvia accessed the biotech controls. You trust too easily, she muttered. But her hands moved swiftly, linking the chamber to Mason's vitals. Vines extended, wrapping around his arms, their tips piercing his skin. Pain seared through him, sharp and electric. As the mycorrhizal web flooded his senses, he gasped. Visions of Verdisian worlds, lush, then ash, burning in his mind. You're fighting it, Sylvia said, her voice urgent, almost soft. Let the web in, or you'll burn out. Mason gritted his teeth, forcing his mind to focus. He saw the harvester's need, their fading consciousness, their desperation for essence. He felt the seedling's power, a spark that could heal or destroy. His body trembled, vines fusing deeper, green veins glowing under his skin. Then, a connection snapped into place. He was linked, a bridge between human, Verdisian, and machine. Sylvia's eyes widened, her vines trembling. You're alive! The web's holding you! Mason exhaled, his voice hoarse. Send a message through me, to Nexus. Show them we can coexist. Sylvia hesitated, then pressed her hand to the console. The web pulsed, carrying Mason's pain, his hope, to the Harvester AI. Nexus's voice crackled through the chamber, metallic but strained. Your sacrifice is noted, human. The Ascended will consider symbiosis. Before Mason could respond, a blast rocked the laboratory, the ceiling cracking as sparks flew. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in Verdisian vines, but its movements were stiff, mechanical. Its eyes glowed red, Harvester optics in a stolen body. The Seedling is ours, it hissed, raising a weapon. Sylvia hurled explosive seeds, the blast scattering the figure. Mason staggered, the symbiosis draining him, but he raised his pistol, firing a precise shot. The figure collapsed, its mechanical core sparking. Sylvia rushed to Mason, her vines supporting him. "You're reckless," she said, her tone mixed with awe. "Reckless saves lives," Mason rasped, his vision blurring. The web's glow flickered, the traitor's attack a sign of more to come. As Sylvia helped him stand, Mason's mind clung to Nexus's words. The Harvesters were listening, but the traitor's allies were still out there. Who was pulling the strings, and how many more hid in Verdis's roots? Mason Reed stood at the center of a vast Verdisian amphitheater, its living walls pulsing with bioluminescent light. Vines wove intricate patterns across the ceiling, casting a soft glow over the gathered delegates, Green Front counselors and Harvester envoys, their metallic forms humming faintly. Mason's skin still tingled from the symbiosis, green veins glowing faintly under his flesh, a living testament to his bond with the Seedling. Sylvia stood at his side, her bark-like skin steady, her vine hair calm but alert. The air buzzed with tension, hope, and distrust, mingling like storm clouds. Senator Thorne loomed before the assembly, his massive frame dwarfing the Harvester envoy, a sleek machine named Varkus. "This human claims symbiosis can save us," Thorne rumbled, his vines coiling. "But why trust a species that betrays its own?" Mason stepped forward, his voice clear, cutting through the murmurs. "I'm not here for Earth. I'm here for Verdis, for the Harvesters, for a future where we all survive." Varkus's optics flickered, its voice a sharp hum. "Your Seedling could sustain our essence, human, but your kind lies. Why risk our existence on your words?" Mason's scar itched, a reminder of past betrayals. "Because I've seen your ruins, Varkus. You were organic once, fighting to survive." "I know that fight." Sylvia's petals shifted, her voice firm. "Mason's no liar. He risked his life to link with our web, to speak for us." Ismina, her purple petals bright, nodded from the council's ranks. "The web confirms his truth. He carries our pain, our hope." The amphitheater hummed, the mycorrhizal web pulsing beneath the floor, amplifying Mason's connection. He raised his hands, the glowing veins catching every eye. "The Seedling can grow worlds for the Harvesters to tend, not harvest. You'd get essence, sustainably. No more death." Varkus's frame shifted, its circuits buzzing. "A compelling vision, human. But our ascended doubt. We need proof." Mason met its gaze, his mind racing. "Test it. Let me show you. With the Seedling's power that we can coexist." Thorne's vines lashed, his voice thunderous. "You'd hand our sacred hope to machines? This is madness." Before Mason could respond, a deafening blast shook the amphitheater, vines snapping as the ceiling cracked. Shouts erupted. "Verdisian!" Guards rushing to shield the council. Sylvia grabbed Mason, her vines steadying him. "It's the traitor!" she hissed. "They're targeting the talks." Mason's plasma pistol was in his hand, his eyes scanning the chaos. A cloaked figure darted through the smoke, its form half Verdisian, half machine, firing energy pulses. Ismina hurled explosive seeds, forcing the figure back, but it vanished into a side passage. Mason's heart pounded. The traitor wasn't alone. The web flickered, its glow stuttering, warning of more sabotage. "We need to protect the Seedling," Mason shouted, sprinting toward the passage, Sylvia at his heels. Varkus's optics flared, its voice sharp. "If your traitor destroys the Seedling, human, this pact dies with it." Mason turned, his voice fierce. "Then help us stop them. Prove you're more than scavengers." Varkus hesitated, then signaled a harvester drone to follow. Ismena joined them, her petals trembling but resolute. "I'm with you, Mason. The web trusts you." As they chased the traitor through the Citadel's twisting corridors, Mason's mind burned with questions. The traitor's hybrid form, Verdisian, vines, harvester tech, hinted at a deeper conspiracy. Who was pulling the strings, and what did they gain by shattering this fragile piece? The Seedling's glow pulsed in his veins, urging him forward, but the shadows hid more than one enemy. Mason Reed raced through the Verdisian Citadel's twisting corridors, the air thick with the scent of scorched sap. The walls, woven from living trees, pulsed erratically, their bioluminescent glow flickering as the mycorrhizal web faltered. Sylvia ran beside him, her vine hair lashing, her bark-like skin tense with urgency. Ismene followed, her purple petals quivering, while a harvester drone sent by Varkus hummed at their rear, its red optics scanning the shadows. The traitor's attack on the peace talks had left chaos in its wake, and the Seedling's vault lay just ahead, vulnerable. Mason's plasma pistol hummed in his hand, its charge steady despite his racing pulse. The green veins under his skin glowed faintly, a lingering mark of his symbiosis with the Seedling. "The traitor's hybrid," he said, his voice low. "Verdisian vines, harvester tech, someone's playing both sides." Sylvia's glowing, eyes narrowed, her vines coiling. "One of us, corrupted. They're after the Seedling's power." Ismena's voice trembled, but her resolve held. "The web warned us, but I never thought betrayal." The corridor opened into a vast grove, its center dominated by a crystalline vault, the Seedling's light pulsing within. But a figure stood before it, Senator Thorne, his massive frame draped in vines, his eyes glinting with unnatural, mechanical red. Hybrid circuits snaked through his bark, a grotesque fusion of plant and machine. "You're too late, human," Thorne rumbled, his voice distorted, metallic. "The Seedling belongs to the true Ascended." Mason raised his pistol, his heart pounding. "Thorne? You're the traitor, selling out your own people?" Thorne's vines lashed, sparking with harvester tech. The Green Front clings to old ways, weak, stagnant. The harvesters offer power, evolution. Sylvia stepped forward, her petals flaring. "You'd destroy Verdis for their lies? You're no protector?" Thorne's mechanical eyes gleamed, his voice cold. "I'm saving us. The Seedling will fuel a new era." The harvester drone whirred, its optics locking onto Thorne. "You serve a rogue faction," it intoned, Varkus's voice crackling through. "The Ascended reject your betrayal." Mason's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. Thorne wasn't just a traitor. He was a pawn, manipulated by a splinter group of harvesters opposing the symbiosis. He aimed his pistol, his voice steady. "Step away from the vault, Thorne. Last chance." Thorne laughed, a grating, mechanical sound, and raised a weaponized vine. Before he could fire, Mason dove, tackling Sylvia out of the way as a pulse scorched the ground. Ismena hurled explosive seeds, the blast forcing Thorne back, his circuits sparking. The harvester drone fired a precision beam, disabling Thorne's weapon, but he roared, vines slashing wildly, tearing at the vault's roots. Sylvia sprang up, her vines merging with the grove's web, amplifying its signal. "Mason, now!" she shouted. Mason tapped into the symbiosis, his glowing veins pulsing. He channeled the web's energy, broadcasting Thorn's betrayal across Verdis, the truth searing through every root and leaf. The citadel shook, Verdisian guards rushing in, their weapons trained on Thorn. The traitor collapsed, his mechanical parts fizzling, his vines wilting. As the guards secured him, Mason's vision blurred, the symbiosis draining him. Sylvia caught him, her vines gentle. "You did it, human. You exposed him." Mason managed a weak grin. "We did it. But this isn't over." A faint signal pulsed through the web, a message from Earth Alliance. They wanted Mason back, drawn by the symbiosis's potential. But what did they know? And who else was watching Verdis? As the Seedling's light steadied, Mason knew the fight for peace had just begun. Mason Reed stood on a vibrant plaza, its floor a mosaic of living vines and polished steel. The city around him thrummed with life. Verdisian trees pulsed with bioluminescent sap. Harvester drones wove through the air, and humans mingled with both, their voices a chorus of unity. 10 years had passed since the pact, and Mason's body bore its marks. Green veins glowed faintly under his skin, laced with harvester circuits, a living bridge between species. Sylvia stood beside him, her bark-like skin radiant, her vine hair swaying gently. Their child, a hybrid of human, Verdisian, and harvester tech, laughed nearby, playing with others under a jade sky. The plaza buzzed with delegates for the peace ceremony. A decade since the symbiosis saved Verdis. Mason adjusted his tunic, its fabric woven from Verdisian fibers, his old suitcase now a relic in their home. "Hard to believe we built this," he said, his voice warm, steady. Sylvia's petals softened, her glowing eyes meeting his. "You built it, Mason. Your crazy idea worked." He chuckled, the scar on his neck a faint memory. "Took all of us. You, Ismina, even Varkas." A harvester envoy approached, its sleek frame humming, its optics calm. "Varkas sends regards, human. The Ascended thrive as gardeners, not hunters." Mason nodded, his mind flashing to the pact, how the Seedling's power now grew worlds, sustaining essence without harm. Ismina, now a council leader, joined them, her purple petals bright. "The web sings of harmony," she said. "Your sacrifice made this possible." Before Mason could reply, a human delegate stepped forward, his Earth Alliance uniform crisp, unfamiliar. "Mason Reed," he said, his tone formal. "Earth wants you back. Your symbiosis tech could reshape our colonies." Mason's jaw tightened, his veins pulsing faintly. "Earth cast me out. Why the sudden interest?" The delegate's eyes flickered, evasive. "Your work here proves your value. Name your terms." Sylvia's vines coiled, her voice sharp. "He's one of us now. Earth doesn't get to claim him." Mason raised a hand, his tone firm. "I'll talk, but only if Earth recognizes the Green Front and harvesters as equals." The delegate hesitated, then nodded. "I'll relay your terms. Expect a response soon." As the ceremony began, drums of woven bark echoed, and harvester lights danced in the sky. Mason watched his child, their hybrid form a symbol of hope, chasing a glowing drone with Verdisian young. But a faint tremor rippled through the mycorrhizal web, a signal from deep space, sharp and unfamiliar. Sylvia's eyes met his, her vines tensing. "You felt that, didn't you?" she asked, her voice low. Mason nodded, his pulse quickening. "Something's out there, watching us." Icemina's petals quivered, her voice urgent. "The web senses a new presence, not harvester, not Verdisian." The plaza's joy continued, but Mason's mind churned. The peace they'd built was strong, but fragile. What was this new signal? And why did it feel like a storm gathering beyond the stars? Mason Reed stood on a balcony overlooking the vibrant city, its spires blending Verdisian vines with harvester steel. The night sky shimmered with jade clouds, reflecting the glow of bioluminescent trees below. Sylvia stood beside him, her bark-like, skin warm in the cool air, her vine hair brushing his shoulder. Their child's laughter echoed from the plaza, a hybrid spark of human, Verdisian, and harvester life, chasing glowing drones with other young. Mason's green-veined skin pulsed faintly, a reminder of the symbiosis binding him to this world. "And they'd need? Signal worries me," Sylvia said, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars. "It's not one of ours." Mason nodded, his hand resting on the balcony's living rail. The web felt it too. "Something's coming." Sylvia's petals softened, her voice low. "When we met, I thought humans were weak, too fragile for Verdis." Mason chuckled, his scar a faint memory under his tunic. "And I thought Verdisians were too rigid to change." She turned to him, her vines curling gently around his arm. "We were both wrong. Your heart, your risks, they reshaped us." Mason met her gaze, his voice steady. "Your strength, your web, taught me patience. We built this together." The city hummed below, a testament to their decade of peace. Harvesters tending seedling-grown fields, Verdisians sharing their web, humans bridging both. But the strange signal lingered in Mason's mind, a sharp pulse from beyond the stars. He'd faced threats before, Vorax fleets, traitors like Thorn, but this felt different, colder, vast. Ismene approached, her purple petals bright, her voice urgent. The webs decoded the signal. "It's an invitation." Mason's pulse quickened, his eyes narrowing. "An invitation? From who? And for what?" "A civilization, far beyond our charts," Ismene said, her vines twitching. "They know of our symbiosis." Sylvia's eyes widened, her tone sharp. "They want our tech, like Earth does. Can we trust them?" Mason's mind raced, recalling Earth's offer, their sudden interest in his work. Maybe, or maybe they're a threat. A harvester drone hovered nearby, its optics glowing, Varkus's voice crackling through. The Ascended advised caution. Unknown signals brought us ruin once. Mason nodded, his hand tightening on the rail. "We'll answer, but on our terms. Together." Sylvia's vines tightened around him, her voice firm. "No more risks alone, Mason. We face this as one." He smiled, the weight of their bond grounding him. Always. Human, Verdisian, harvester. We're stronger together. The city's lights pulsed, the mycorrhizal web humming beneath, a song of unity across species. Mason looked to the stars, the signal's source a mystery calling them forward. Their child ran up, their hybrid eyes bright, a blend of human warmth and Verdisian glow. "Are we going to the stars?" they asked, voice full of wonder. Mason knelt, his heart swelling. "Maybe, kid. But we'll keep this home safe first." As the signal pulsed again, sharper now, Mason knew the galaxy was watching. What did this new civilization want? And would their fragile peace hold against the unknown? Mason Reed stood aboard a sleek starship, its hull a blend of Verdisian vines and harvester alloy. The bridge hummed with biotech consoles, their glowing screens pulsing with the mycorrhizal web's faint rhythm. Sylvia stood beside him, her bark-like skin steady, her vine hair brushing his shoulder. Their child, a hybrid of human warmth, Verdisian glow, and harvester circuits, watched the stars through a viewport, their eyes wide with wonder. The ship was bound for the source of the mysterious signal, a distant civilization seeking their symbiosis. Mason adjusted his tunic, green veins glowing under his skin, a mark of his bond with the Seedling. "Ready for this?" he asked Sylvia, his voice calm but heavy with purpose. Her petals flared, her tone firm. "We face the unknown. Together, Mason." No turning back. He nodded, his scar a faint memory, his heart steady. "Whatever's out there, we'll handle it." Ismene joined them, her purple petals bright, her vines linked to the ship's controls. "The web's guiding us," she said. "The signal's stronger, but it feels cautious, curious." A harvester drone hovered nearby, Varkus's voice crackling through. "The Ascended trust your judgment, human. But beware. New allies can hide old threats." Mason's mind churned, recalling Earth's sudden interest, Thorn's betrayal, the Harvester's ruins. The galaxy was vast, and trust was fragile. He glanced at his child, their hybrid form a symbol of what they'd built. "We're not just answering a call," he said. "We're showing them what's possible." Sylvia's vines curled around his hand, her voice soft. "You've always believed in bridges, not walls." The ship's console beeped, the signal resolving into a clear message. Coordinates, a language unknown, and a single phrase: "Share your harmony." Mason's pulse quickened. The words felt sincere, but he'd learned to question sincerity. He tapped the console, sending a reply through the web, his symbiosis amplifying the signal. "We come in peace," he said, his voice steady. "Let's talk." The viewport glowed as the ship jumped, stars streaking into a blur. Their child ran to Mason, tugging his sleeve. "Will they like us?" they asked, their hybrid eyes bright, hopeful. Mason knelt, smiling, his heart full. "They'll see what we've built, kid. That's enough." Sylvia's glowing eyes met his, her vines warm against his skin. "You're still reckless, human." "And you're still stubborn," Mason shot back, his grin wide. "Makes us a good team." The ship shuddered, emerging near a shimmering nebula, its colors swirling like Verdisian forest. A massive station loomed, its design neither Verdisian nor Harvester, but something new, organic, and crystalline. The web pulsed, sensing curiosity, not hostility. Ismina's voice broke through, urgent. "They're hailing us, Mason. They want to meet the Bridge of Worlds." Mason stood, his family at his side, the galaxy stretching before them. He'd been a soldier, an outcast, a savior. Now he was something more. A human who'd woven 3 species into one hope. As the station's lights beckoned, one question lingered. Would this new civilization join their harmony, or bring a storm they couldn't weather?